agencies and their ratings. So there are three main credit rating agencies: Moody's, S&P, and Fitch. Now the big bonds, of course, the bonds of the big companies have all three of them giving a rating, but the smaller companies might be covered by two of these. Now, Moody's is a little different than the other two, which is your S&P and Fitch, because where S&P and Fitch give AAA in capitals to the best bond, Moody's will give also AAA, but the two of the A's are small. Now, a silly way of remembering this is that Moody's is a bit moody. That's why they've given a different nomenclature to this, if you want to remember it that way. But the important thing is that AAA is the highest quality. And the other thing, which is really, really important, is that within this entire credit rating space where you're starting off with AAA, which is the best, and then going into default, which is D, which is the worst, what really is important is this difference from triple B to double B. Because it's a world of difference. You're going from investment grade to non-investment grade, or what we also call junk or high yield or speculative, right? So a lot of names for this: speculative, high yield, junk. And it's a completely different world, because what happens is, as long as you're in the investment grade, you're more concerned with probability of default. But when you get into non-investment grade, probability of default is so high and it starts increasing so much that your main focus turns to loss given default. So let's say if I'm buying a bond which is somewhere in the triple C space, I will not be trying to assess the probability of default and trying to fine tune that. I'll just assume that it is going to default. And what I will focus on is, okay, if it is going to default, how much money will I be able to recover? Right? So if there is a loss, then given that there is a default, how much loss will there be? And the price that I'm paying for the bond with respect to the loss that there will be. So am I getting enough discount on it or not? So for example, let's say there is $1,000 bond, right? And the loss given default is, let's say, 20%. So if there is a default, I'm not going to get $1,000 face value. I'll probably get 800. So if I am getting this bond for less than 800, let's say it's trading in the market for 700, then I don't mind buying it, because it is still a good buy, because even if it defaults, it's going to give me 800. So 700 is a good price. So what I'm trying to explain to you over here is that when we are looking at buying bonds in the investment grade space, we are more concerned with the probability of default. But when we get into non-investment grade or high yield or junk or speculative grade, so many names for the same thing, which is basically going below triple B to double B, and that is where we need to focus more on the amount of loss that will be there given that the default is going to happen. Right, so let's focus on investment grade. Within investment grade, we have high, upper medium, and low medium, right? So you can see clearly over here it is going from AAA to AA and then single A and then triple B, and triple B is the cutoff. Within that, of course, you have your low medium, which is triple B, right? And double A and triple A is high, so single A comes to upper medium as far as your S&P and Fitch are concerned. Now, coming in to non-investment grade, obviously this starts with double B onwards and goes all the way down to default status. Now, these credit rating agencies, in addition to giving us these ratings, they also provide something called Outlook. And this is also very helpful because you know that, okay, if a certain company is double A, are we going up or down? Or let's say if it is triple B, most importantly, because that's where the sensitive area is, what's the probability that we go below this? Because going below triple B, of course, is a world of difference. So if you have a negative outlook and you're already triple B, that is definitely a big point of concern. They also include comments, right? That is it review for a downgrade, or is it on watch for an upgrade? So I mean, if a company or a bond is triple B and it is on review for a downgrade, that is of course a serious point of concern. And why is it a serious point of concern? Because there is something known as credit migration risk. Because if it does get downgraded from triple B to double B, the yield on that bond is going to significantly rise. And if the yield rises, so here in this chart we have yield and maturity, right? And if the yield rises, then the bond price is going to come down. So you as the investors are going to lose money, right? If the downgrade is there. So this is known as credit migration risk, and that is why we have to be very, very careful with this. Especially with your going from investment grade to non-investment grade, right? And here then the loss given default becomes more important, that you give more weight to recovery. And as you know that 1 minus the recovery ratio is going to give you the loss given default. So the focus completely changes from probability of default to loss given default. Now, how dependable are these credit rating agencies? And in the investment process, how much of a focus should we have on them? So they're definitely good. I mean, of course, they are a key part of our analysis within fixed income, but they have certain limitations. Now, let me tell you about these limitations. First of all, credit ratings are not like a permanent thing, right? So if a bond has a double A rating, that doesn't mean it's going to be safe forever. It is possible it can go to double B, which is, of course, going from investment grade to speculative grade. So they can change. So you need to keep an eye on that. Number one. Number two, it's not that they are invincible or infallible. They have made mistakes, and we will see. I'll give you an example of the mistakes that they have made. And credit rating agencies don't take into account very specific factors, company specific factors, events that are very, very difficult to predict. However, even if we say, oh, they do a very good job, let's just assume that they are perfect and they've done an excellent job, even then, they are slow, right? So the market will change the expectation, and accordingly the bond prices will change much before the credit rating agency provides an update. So therefore it is very important for us as analysts, as investors, as advisors, as portfolio managers to understand the underlying factors of these credit spreads instead of just depending on the credit rating. I mean, you can take the credit rating into your analysis, you can make it a part of your analysis, but that is what it should be, just a part. Not your entire analysis should not be based on credit rating, right? It shouldn't be the basis of your analysis, it should be a part of your analysis. Because number one, they can change, right? They can change over time, and we have seen huge changes. Bonds going into we call them fallen angels, fallen angels that they have deteriorated over time, and sometimes a very short period of time as well. Again, credit rating agencies has have made mistakes. The prime example is what they did with the 2008 financial crisis. They rated securities which were having absolute rubbish inside them, subprime mortgages, right? Which, of course, defaulted, and those securities came down. Everybody knows what happens in the what happened in the global financial crisis of 2008. So these credit rating agencies definitely made a mistake there. So they are not infallible, and they also uh, cannot, it is not possible for them to capture the risk of very, very specific unforeseen events, such as a tsunami, right, which impacted the Tokyo Electric Power Company. So it's just their model is flawed. I mean, I wouldn't say it's flawed. There's just the inherent limitation in their model. And even if they get it right, even if they get it right, they will always lag because they are slow to update. They cannot update in microseconds, milliseconds, right? They're going to take their process, they're going to follow their due process. However, the prices in the market will have moved already. So you and I, as analysts, as portfolio managers, as investment advisors, need to understand what are the factors that impact your credit spreads, which obviously the credit rating agencies will also be considering, but we need to directly consider those factors as well, and we need to do it in real time. So in the next video, what we're going to look at is what are those factors and how can we get a better understanding of them directly, right? So see you in the next one.